Hey everybody, and welcome back. So, new month, new set release, and potentially a new format. What decks are going to be the best decks for June 2021? We have a ban list coming no sooner than July 1st. Stick around, I guess, for our ban list prediction, but as of right now, my prediction is it might be August before we get a ban list. I don't know if we really need one right now, personally. I mean, we're tired of decks like Dragon Link, but really nothing is super broken, and a decent bit of decks are actually doing well, so it's a pretty healthy overall format. I think it's more or less we're just tired of certain decks, but it's not that the format itself is bad. And if we do get a ban list, we are going to throw a prediction out there. Right now I have 0 banned cards. I have a lot of cards coming back, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to check it out. We're going to jump right into this. We have tier 1, 2, 3, and Rogue. For those of you who do it, 1, 1.5, 2, and Rogue. But if a deck's 1.5, you might as well just do 1, 2, 3. I say it every time because I mean it every time. ABCs. This is a deck that I actually play, and I really do enjoy it. It's been a while since they really did anything too crazy. Union Carrier getting hit really just made Infinity not as consistent, but I mean, they still have plenty of combos that are really good, like ending easily with like Buster and your IP play into literally whatever you want, including using your opponent's monster for like a Underworld Goddess and other things. I think they pair up with Dogmatica really, really well, and I know then you can't summon from your extra deck. Well, I mean, a lot of decks that play Dogmatica summon from the extra deck, and they do it just fine. So, I mean, Dogmatica, crazy engine. And ABC, I'm going to put as a Rogue deck. We are working on our combo guide for that. So, again, if that's something you want to see, hit that subscribe button and stick around for it. So, ABC combo guide coming to you guys pretty soon here, probably early next week. And moving on to the next deck, Altergeist. I hate this deck. I hate playing against the deck. I've played it before, and I don't mind playing it. Kind of weird how that works, how you don't mind playing a deck, but you hate playing against it. I mean, that probably describes a lot of decks for a lot of people. Anyway, Altergeist is really a crazy trap deck, one of the best trap decks out there. Imperm Faker. Imperm's actually decent again, though, so that's, not a bad thing. Drytron making waves, though, could put a little kibosh to that. However, they still play Beatrice and things now, so there are actually Imperm targets versus Drytron that are kind of choke points. However, Altergeist is going to fall into tier 3. Buster Blader is a deck that really kind of comes and goes with the format, whether you're pairing it up with Dogmatica or with Dragoon. Even Crusadias pair really nice and help you consistently see the cards you need, combo off OTK, setup boards, do all kinds of crazy things like that. However, I just don't know if this is quite the format for it because it's so diverse. So Buster Blader, I'm going to put them as a Rogue deck. Our favorite deck, the deck that we always talk about, the deck we always say too bad more high-level players don't play it because this deck's actually really, really strong. The deck's got so much utility. You can build it as control, you can build it as OTK, you can build it as mid-range, you can build it so many different ways, and it just really lacks high-level players playing it. But those like James Jung, if you haven't seen Hakuna My Data, go check out the channel. Like, he made it into 1,000 plus ranked on Dueling Book with Cyber Dragons. He's not the only one to do it. Like, the deck topped a couple of MBT's big tournaments. It topped the DCS, which, by the way, guys, DCS4, throw it up on the screen now for you guys. It is coming July 24th, the weekend of. It's the first time we're going to do a 2-day event. It's going to be a ton of fun. More details to follow, so keep an eye out for it. Cyber Dragon, however, I am going to put as a tier 3 deck. As much as I want to put them higher, I can't. And as much as some of you might want me to put them lower, I ain't going to do that. I think Cyber Dragons are definitely a tier 3 deck. So, bringing us into dinosaurs. Do you play Scrap or don't you play Scrap? I don't know why I'm going to go down here because we all know it's not a tier 3 deck. It's going to be one of these top couple. So where do we put them? Where do they go? Where do we put them? Where do they go? This deck has been really good for a really long time. They've actually been winning a handful of these like remote duel extravaganza type events. I think they had 4 wins I saw somewhere. I believe, I don't know, maybe that's just, no. I'm pretty sure something like that. So anyway, enough rambling about that. Do you just play Go Second Pure Dino Go Brute, or do you, play the combo variant with Scrap Raptor? Combo guide on the channel, by the way, guys. Almost 2,000 views on it already. Crazy thing blew up, but I mean, likely so. Like Extra Duck Lock, Savage, Nap Beast, Conductor Tyranno, sometimes with an Appaloosa. Like, the deck is insane. The deck's tier 1, no doubt in my mind. One of the best 3 decks, hands down. At least till we get a ban list, I'm not going to even waste time about it. Dragon Link's tier 1. The new decks, coming back, Dino getting the boost, Drytron we'll talk about here in a second. Otherwise, like Zodiac Tri-Brigade or just Tri-Brigade in general got a big boost. Things like that. None of it's going to knock Dragon Link off its perch. Dragon Link will probably even go, right as the number 1 deck. For now, Dragon Link is just going to do Dragon Link things. Bringing us to what we just mentioned, Drytron. Deck's crazy. They have combos where they can dump any Floodgate with Beatrice and end up making a Nightmare Griffin pretty easy and setting it. They can, make IP Masquerena go into like Unicorn, Underworld Goddess, anything that they want like that. Even, easy Link 4s for like OTKs and big damage pushes. Got it, or Ultimateness is insane of a card. The deck's just got too many choke points for me to put it as tier 1. Maybe some people will play around with it more and more and kind of sure it up and get it to power through disruption like it used to. But 1 Benton, things like that, and even before, like Droll hard counters it, the Cycle Reader hard counters it, and now, like I said, it's just a little more fragile than it used to be. So at least until it proves me wrong, I'm going to put it as a tier 2 deck, and let's see if they can't make their way up higher. We got our big train here to represent our Earth Machine deck. Maschine, trains, all that other good stuff crammed into 1 deck. They can OTK. This deck can grind like no other. We're actually working on learning it, and I'll bring you guys that combo guide once we're a little more comfortable with it, and maybe even a replay video. We'll see how they do and how many likes, comments, and everything else we can get. Let us know down below if that's something you'd be interested in. Like I said, they can OTK, they can just pound you down with machines. They make Zeus really, really easily as well, and the grind game is just insane. I think it's a very strong tier 3 deck. Eldritch, basically every Eldritch, variant here, just throwing all Eldritch together. I'm going to put them as tier 2. The deck just hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't taken hits. The format's pretty diverse, so it makes it hard to really just play counters to counter Eldritch, because like Dino, Dragon Link, Drytron even now, like Prank Kids, like there's so many decks that are just more worrisome than Eldritch. So Eldritch kind of skates under the radar. However, cards like Lightning Storm really can put it into check. And that's kind of just that. So I do think it's still a tier 2 deck. I can't bump them down to tier 3, and they're no way near a tier 1. They're probably near the back end of tier 2, but Eldritch is something that you should definitely be ready to play against. Grand Maju. Well, I think Cyber Dragon and Earth Machine are the better OTK decks, and Grand Maju really doesn't offer a whole lot else. The fact that it can just play like Desires, Talents, Trade In, Triple Alpha, it can play Eater Millions, it can just play like the dangers being Thunderbird and Bigfoot that can also pop if discarded, rank 8 Turbo. It can play Super Poly incredibly well because you can even discard the dangers and gain their effects off that way. Like, the deck is pretty strong. It's just kind of tunnel visioned into what it can do. It doesn't really have a whole lot of options going first. I mean, you can play stun variants, things like that, but at that point you might as well play Altergeist, Guru, Eldritch, Cyber Traps like Buster Blader. There's so many more better control decks, but I do think Grand Maju is a very solid rogue strategy. Guru, Dragoon, Guru control. I think with Dragoon the deck's definitely a bit better. Personally, I actually like it with Red Eyes Insight. I know most people do not, but I really like to get to my Red Eyes package, and I can't tell you how many times like I get one of them negated, especially like if they negate the activation of Red Eyes Fusion, then you just Red Eyes Insight. It also gives you a way to Reborn Dragoon. Like, the deck's pretty strong. I just can't really put it any higher because I don't know. Playing it and seeing like what's the meta's doing, I just Guru Dragoon, I think it's a strong tier 3 deck, but I can't quite bump them up to tier 2 just yet. Infernobles, deck's actually really good. I think someone's actually in top 10 on Dueling Book playing with them, like 1600 ranked. Like, deck is, like, if you know what you're doing, I think he plays, was it Draco Sack and some other spice that he is doing with it. But like a really good pilot can have really good success. It's one of those decks. Pretty much any deck in tier 3, if you put it in the hands of a good pilot, they can beat these decks hands down, like all day long. They can go into an extravaganza, into a DCS, and they can end up winning like those types of events. So like these decks are very strong decks that are, if you're the right pilot or the right day, like even a lucky day, you can go ahead and win with them. All these decks in tier 3 and rogue, you can absolutely win like at the local level. I truly believe that, and I think that's why we like to show them off here. Invoked Shadal, Invoked Shadal Dogmatica, Invoked Dogmatica, that whole mix of things. I definitely think Invoked Shadal with the small Dogmatica engine too is the best way to play the deck, but I still sorry, I have them still as a tier 1 deck, at least until they prove me wrong. Like, the deck has been doing pretty good, and I think the deck's strong, and I think the deck's actually kind of annoying to play against. I'd rather verse Dragon Link than I would this deck. Maybe it's just like the way I match up with it, probably, but I would rather play against Dragon Link. Not saying Dragon Link's a lesser of a deck. I think it's a better deck. But overall, I think Invoke Shadal with the small Dogmatica engine is still a very strong tier 1 deck. And like I said, until they prove me wrong, I'm not going to bump them down. So there they will sit. Mech Knights. Ooh, okay. So pure Mech Knights, invoked Mech Knights, both very, very strong. I have to put them at least tier 3. Like, borderline even putting them even higher. Shannon Long's been grinding with them. Go check out his channel. I'll throw a link down below. Column King. I was actually watching his stream the other day, yesterday I believe, and he gave Dragon Rider Games a good shout out, so I figured I'll return the favor for him here. But the guy's insane with Mech Knights. If you want to learn Mech Knights, go follow Column King on YouTube. Like, he's crazy with the deck. He's really, really good with it, and I know I've been learning it, and I've been watching a lot of his videos and streams, and just seeing how he plays with the deck, and I'm definitely impressed all the time, and I love watching his content. So again, Column King down below, and I can't, give a shout out there without shouting out my boy Anastasies, because he's also in the 1000 ranked club with pure Mech Knights, and he does rather well with the deck. So when he's not busy and can actually grind away at Dueling Book, he's also, pretty insane with the deck. So shout outs to those two guys, best 2 mech players that I know their names, if that's a thing. But okay, moving on forward. PK Fire, we're going to kind of go a little bit quicker now. PK Fire, I feel like every time I do this, it's the deck that I want to do better. It's the deck that I think can do better. It's just the deck that doesn't do better. And until they get some more results, I'm going to leave them as Rogue. If this was our Rogue format, like in Dragon Rider Games, because if you don't like current format, come over to Dragon Rider Games, where we have Rogue format, Edison format, GOAT format, and a plethora of other formats such as Toss or Eternal, whatever you call it, GOAT, all kinds of good things. But PK Fire for this, for current format, I think is a Rogue deck. Getting a little bit more support. I'm not going to put them up at tier 1 by any means, but I think Plunder Patrol is a Rogue deck that you should keep an eye out for. Whenever a deck does get support, people tend to experiment with it, and when people experiment with a deck, it means they might play it more and they might find out that it's actually kind of good. So, bringing us to Prank Kids. I'm going to do this real quick, because Prank Kids, if I did a 0.5, it would absolutely be 1.5. I think, like, these are the 3 best decks, and then Prank Kids would be like tier right there, but I don't think it's super close between the rest of the tier 2. I think Prank Kids clear cut have it. You might disagree with me, because you'll see one a little bit later and you'll be like, oh, they could be right there too, and I guess that's probably true, but I don't want to do a 0.5 tier because reasons. Anyway, Prank Kids are, in my opinion, the best tier 2 deck. The deck, especially if you're playing in like an extravaganza or any type of event that is timed. If you're playing in an event that's not timed, it's still a crazy strong deck. It's still toolbox crazy. It still has like easy combos to play around Nibiru. It still can play through Ash. If you don't believe me, go check out Hakuna My Data. I mentioned him earlier. He did an analysis on this, like how often they get Ashed or Meistered or Gamut on that first kid and win, and I'm pretty sure they still won over half their games. Like, it's crazy. The Prank Kids are just so good. But yeah, otherwise, like, they can pop back row, they can pop your monsters, they can actually pop both relatively easily, and just have like three complete board wipes essentially. And like the deck's just really really good, really consistent because they have every kid's a 1 card starter, so deck's really good. Underrepresented but still strong and still kind of kicking Salamangreat. I get kind of surprised that more people don't play it. I guess it's just because it's not one of those decks that has that like following, like where Sky Striker, like people will always and forever love Sky Striker. I don't think Salamangreat ever quite got to that point. They never crossed that peak. They were just a deck that was like climbing the mountain, climbing the mountain, climbing it, and then they took their hits on the ban list and they fell right down the mountain. Sky Striker was at the top of the mountain for so long that even after their hits, they still made it to the other side, and people will always and forever experiment with the deck. Salamangreat is still pretty strong, consistent, lots of room for disruption, for floodgates, for hand traps, for meta counters, any of those good things. And you know, they still have their OTK plays, but the deck's actually still really good, and it's just not very played. Couple more support cards for Trap Tricks. Was actually tempted to put them up at tier 3, but you're gonna hear me say it all the time, guys. Like, I want a deck to prove that they deserve to be up higher or lower. Like, I want Invoke Shaddoll. I want the deck to prove to me it's not tier 1 anymore. So until then, they're gonna sit at tier 1. Prank Kids and Zoodiac Tri-Brigade being the 2 decks that could dethrone them, and possibly Dino, but I don't know, guys. I think Dino's gonna be really really good this format. Drytron, they got to prove if they want to be tier 1. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to be a solid tier 2 deck. I don't think they'll prove to be a tier 1, like we had mentioned that. So Trap Tricks, it's a deck that I would like to see them prove to me that they can be tier 3. Until then, they are going to be a rogue deck. Virtual Worlds, kind of the same thing. Like, I was so tempted like with tier 3, and I'm looking at them and I was like, would I really play Virtual World over any of these? Maybe. You know, but at the same time, I feel like these decks are just better than Virtual Worlds. Like, I don't know, guys. I feel like they falter to too many cards now, and I know Cyber Dragon being here is gonna, you know, maybe upset some people, but I still stand by that. Most people sleep on it. Most people don't realize they're good, but in the hands of the right person, this deck's crazy. Virtual World, man, again, maybe I should start doing the 0.5s, but yeah, maybe I'll have to. But Virtual World, I'm going to leave them at Rogue, and hopefully they can prove me. Just kidding. My guy Marvin's won a couple current format tournaments and Dragon Rider games with them. We're going to put them at tier 3, so now that we're done rambling about them, we already mentioned it. Zoodiac Tri-Brigade is tier 2. I want to see them. This deck is so hyped. Like, people say it's going to be better than Scrap Dino, which maybe it will, but like I said, Pure Dino might still be the better variant of the two. As far as with Prank Kids, I wouldn't be too surprised, but I'd be a little surprised. We might see Dragon League, Prank Kids, and Tri-Brigade Zoodiac emerge as the top 3 decks of the format. We might see Dino drop to tier 2, and honestly, if Invoke Shaddoll doesn't stay tier 1, I think they might fall like last time, like really fall, because I think if that happens, it's mostly because people kind of give up on the deck and just go to other decks, not because the deck isn't good. So just due to lack of representation, they might actually hard fall to like tier 3 if these 2 decks really take off and we see Dino pop down, and then like the Invoke Shaddoll drop all the way to tier 3 with possibly, like Infernobles, Guru Dragoon, or Altergeist, one of those decks possibly even moving up into tier 2. Anyway, though, let me know what you guys think as far as my June tier list for 2021. And like I said, guys, hit that subscribe button if you liked it. We have a lot more combo guides and replay videos and deck profiles. And we're also doing top 10 decks of COVID. So that's going to be a fun one to do. It's going to be interactive. And we might actually just do it on stream instead of doing it in a recorded video. I'm unsure on how that will go yet. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. And until next time, take care.